Thank you guys for joining us for hashtag One Team University. All right, get used to that. You'll be seeing a lot of it. So excited for what's happening as we come together, linking arms and teaching and sharing with one another. And how great is it that we have this amazing technology? I mean, gosh, it's taken our world to a whole new level. I'm so excited for who we have on the call on the Zoom tonight. And just so you guys know, in case something happens later on in the call, these are going to continue. All right. Every 6 weeks, we have a new group lined up. I'm so excited for the next group. We have Samantha, all the way from Australia, joining us. We have Hayden and Emily Vavra joining us, and then the Slobin, Zach and Ian. So we're really, really excited for what's happening because everybody truly is coming together and sharing just their wisdom, their experiences, and their amazing energy. So thank you guys for being a part of that. Please share it with your teams. This is meant to be shared. We do record these, but obviously seeing your amazing faces is part of the fun. So jump on when you can and then use the recordings to share with your family and friends and your team. All right, sound good? All right, raise your hand if you are excited about tonight. Come on, give me some, lift the roof, raise the roof. What is this? That's old school. All right, I've been promised a song or two, so expect that. Guys, this woman is so absolutely amazing. She has helped me so much. Her cheerleading, her encouragement, her love at events, through social media. Most of you know her already, and I'm so excited for Deanna Falchook to share her story and talk about team building and the amazing things that she's going to bring to you guys tonight. But if I could just ask one thing of you, it would be to, really get into a place in a zone right now where you're present. Just really, really get present. And ask yourself during this, this 45 minutes together that we have, ask yourself, how can I apply this in my own life? And how can I teach this? Because One Team University is all about creating leaders. And every time you get wisdom and inspiration, you have to pass it. You got to share it forward. So please take what you learned tonight and let's teach those around you, your kids, your family, your teams, your neighbors, just everybody. Just pass this goodness on, okay? Raise your hand if you're committed. All right. And finally, this is Zoom. So you can have a tendency of zoning out sometimes, but I want you guys to be so present and give Deanna your attention and also that body language, all right? I don't want to see the, home improvement faces, just the eye. All right, make sure that if you're liking it, let her know you're liking it, all right? Get involved, okay? Good? Wonderful. Well, let's raise our hands, raise the roof for Deanna V. Falchook.
Hey. So I'm excited that you've got me on this call, Trisha. When we were texting earlier, you accused me of being a yellow, which implies that I'm really into the fun and I'm sort of spontaneous. And the truth is, yes, that I am I'm like that. I love to kind of just go with the flow. And so I will take that on as a compliment. And hopefully that will inspire all of you guys to know that if you are somebody who just sort of, loves to just, be creative and have a lot of fun, then you also can be very successful even if you can't find a pen. So, because that can be me oftentimes. So I wanted to tell a little bit of my isogenic story, but I do have some coaching tips. And in the end, really what's almost always on my heart and what I have found that is the most valuable information, the valuable lesson that I can teach anybody is for them to have belief, because we all have access to, the training, and we all have access to, the same tools. So what differentiates some people from the others? And for me, I really had to grab a hold of my belief and make a commitment to belief. So just a little bit about myself. I started in 2013. I've been with Isagenix almost exactly 3 years. Prior to Isagenix, my business was that I was in the entertainment business, I've always loved to perform. I had a big band, a very successful big band in New York City. And prior to that, I worked as a singer in other bands, and then I worked at Disney as a singer. So during those times, and I'm just giving you the backstory because it's this context that I want you to understand why I love the times we're living in. When I started out as a singer, you had to audition, get permission to have a platform to sing. If you couldn't find an audience unless you would either be asked to be in a show or go on the street and just sing, which I did, by the way. I did sing on the street too. So the times that we're living in now with the technology and the social media and the fact that we can do a song on Guitar Band, and we can, if we have something on our hearts to say, we can go on a platform like Zoom or whatever, it's just really amazing. So your creative freedom and then your ability to connect with people is so powerful. And so for me, in 2013, what had happened was, prior to that, in 2008, I was getting tired of the way I was performing. I had a big band and I was getting exhausted from playing every single weekend. And after those gigs were done, I wouldn't be making any money. And I had probably one of the most successful bands at that time in New York City. We were playing a lot of the most famous events. We played for Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones's wedding. We played for Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maple. A lot of famous people hired us, but the thing is that I started to, in my heart, want something more, something better, because I didn't feel like my voice was being utilized in the way that I wanted it to be utilized, because I was very passionate. And I had a really big heart for really changing lives and helping people to believe and people to live in a better place. And so I had 2 children at the time, in about 2002, when I started to feel this urge to adopt. And in 2005, we adopted a little girl from Guatemala. We already had a boy and a girl. And my life changed because I was really exposed to what these orphans were going through. And then brought her home. Our life was great. I continued to sing on the stages, but my perspective was different. I was getting really impatient and irritable when people would say things like, "Hey, is this tablecloth the right shade of white? And can you sing that when, wearing a different dress?" All this minutia started to really bother me because my mind and my heart was in such a bigger place. I really wanted to change the world. And I wanted to change lives. And so I just felt like the people I was performing for were insatiable. I felt like it was just smoke and mirrors, that my voice really wasn't being heard. So we had 3 children, and we went off to Ethiopia to adopt 3 children, doubling the amount of children we had. So we adopted a 5, 6, and 9-year-old sibling group from Ethiopia whose parents had died from AIDS. And at this point, I came home, kept performing on the stages, and started to just get really even more frustrated because I was feeling like I love to sing, but I have to find some other way to be creative, but still be able to pour into my passions of changing the world and transforming lives. These kids now are everything. Now I've seen hundreds and hundreds of orphans in Africa, little girls and boys giving me little notes saying, "Go home and find me a family." And I'm standing on the stage at the plaza with party planners barking at me over the fact that they can see my cup of water. It was just like my perspective and frame of reference was so changed. And so then around 2008, when the economy tanked, I didn't have it in my heart to want to fight and battle and white knuckle my business. It was starting to slow down, but I didn't. I just didn't want to. I wanted something more. And I have faith. I'm a Christian woman. I prayed to God. And between 2008, when we had 6 kids, and 2011, our lives were just we had not as many gigs, and it was really, really hard. In 2011, we were called to adopt this little boy who's HIV positive, labeled invalid at birth because of that. abandoned at 5 years old, and we had no money at the time because again, the gig is over, and then what do you do? So you don't have the money after the gigs are over, even though we were getting paid well. So at that point, I had started using my talents on social media, and this is where I'm getting back to the fact that we have so much freedom, and I had this background of entertainment, right? So my thing was always being able to kind of get attention. I always knew how to draw an audience. That was my thing. I was not a network marketer. I knew how to draw an audience. I knew how to get people to think. I knew how to get them to dance. So I started to build this audience for orphans, raising money or whatever, and making connections. So in 2011, when we were adopting, we had this huge network of people that helped support us to adopt our son, Alec. And I videotaped the entire thing, started a YouTube channel that now has 19,000 people on it. I don't oftentimes talk about this, but it's called You Parent. We've had millions of views on that channel. And that was how I started to build things, by using entertainment, by creating things. So we come home, we adopt Alec, and they tell us that had we waited and said no, that he would have been dead, because they were about to transfer him to an orphanage where children as healthy as him are abused, neglected, because there's an entire adult population of people who have either gone crazy or are, it's just rampant abuse. So we brought him home, and it was at that point that I knew that we had heard from God, and we were going there, and we did the right thing. But when we brought him home, our finances were worse. What had happened was we started to then, again, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I knew I could, but I had so much faith that God was going to do something. He was going to do something to change our lives, and I didn't get the green light to go back and reinvent the wheel and just plant the seeds back in the band thing. Be creative, sing, use your gifts of creativity, yes, but you're going to be here with the family, and it's somehow, some way, it's all going to fuse together. So we adopt him, and our finances are worse, and we can't even really afford enough food for 7 children now. We're almost going bankrupt. Our house is in foreclosure. What are we going to do? So we end up feeding our children by getting donations from this woman who would pick up expired food from the food pantry, offer it to people, and then whatever they didn't want, we would take, and we would eat like that. And it was during that time when I hit rock bottom, and I was just like, there's got to be something better. I did not adopt these children. Dear Lord, I know that this may be part of the process of us going from point A to point B, but please come to our rescue. And I started to research great food while I was in the midst of giving them old birthday cake for breakfast. And I knew about whey proteins. I became an expert on what you needed for your immune system, but I didn't think anything existed like that. And at one point, I hit rock bottom, started to cry, what I call my snotty prayer, when I was trying to buy my son a pair of sneakers. And I called out to God, and I said, Dear Lord, scour the universe for an opportunity for our lives to change, if not for me, for my family. And it was literally within a few days that I found out about isogenics. And at first, now this is where the belief comes in. Even though I had the snotty prayer, for a second, I was so downtrodden and so out of my normal state of mind that I was like, I can't do this. This is for other people, special people who can build this. This only happens to some people. I'm not that person. I'm not salesy. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then all of a sudden I stopped myself, and I realized that I just had the snotty prayer. I realized that I had become an expert on whey proteins, and just out of desperation for wanting my kids to have better health. And I stopped, and I caught myself, and I said, wait a second. It's not about what if this happens for me. Do I want this to happen for me? He's given me an opportunity. People are making money. People are getting healthier. And what's it going to hurt? I can just return it. So I borrowed money, got the products, and then every day, every single day, I reprogrammed my brain. It's like, well, wait a second. Why couldn't I? Why couldn't it be me? Why couldn't I be one of those people that could become a millionaire? Why not? And what if I don't just wait for something to happen? What if I do the things that they're telling? And I just prayed out to God. I said, I need to believe this stuff because I'm a person that I cannot like fake, like I believe it. So I got to believe it. So I started to use the products, and this overwhelming sense of wellness came over me. And this epiphany, this huge vision and why came over me. I realized at that point, even though I had felt isolated and alone, that number one, all of the people in that network that had helped support me when we were raising $10 for a t-shirt here, let's put $10 in somebody's fund for an adoption. Let's do a garage sale. Oh my gosh, maybe we can do an online bingo challenge to help with the adoption. We were doing that and successfully getting 30,000 for all these adoptions. But all of these people needed this stuff because as caregivers, we had never thought about ourselves. Number one. Number two, most of these adoptions were special needs kids that needed better nutrition and came from a really bad place, or cognitively were just so in shock from either seeing their parents die, never having parents, or whatever. So they needed it. And then the big thing for me was like, wait a second. Wait, why is it that we raise money for people, they come home, and then case in point, after adopting a bunch of kids, they struggle so much that it's almost devastating. I'm going to be really honest here. We know of mothers, I am not kidding you, who have committed suicide from the stress post-adoption because they haven't been able to cope with it. So why is there no post-financial support? So there was this vision that I said adoptogenics for healthy and prosperous forever families. And God gave me this vision to create 100 orphan-loving millionaires. And then so the first year after I started, my girlfriend Carolyn, who was on this awesome Zoom call, her and I became the number 3 and number 4 top millionaires in action in 2014. And we got to go to on President's Quest with our dear friend Tracy O'Malley, who I know some of you know, and Angela Maresca, and and Sarah Jilks. So the thing is it was such an amazing thing. And overall, what I've learned the most is that when you pour into one person, your life can change dramatically. And the other lesson for me is that now what God did is he brought everything. He brought the fact that I love to perform, the fact that I love to be creative. Who knew a network marketing could be creative? I would never in a million years when I was sitting there having that snotty prayer think, because I was specific, I said, I'd like to also be able to continue to advocate for orphans. And I want to make money, and I want to be home, and it has to be really fast. These were things I was saying during my snotty prayer. I was really specific. It happened really fast. It's become marketplace ministry for me, and it's just been the most amazing thing. So in a nutshell, that's the story. In 3 years, our team has grown a lot. It hasn't always been easy. It's been tough. We've worked really hard, and but I've really learned a lot. And the one thing that I would love for all of you guys to really, really understand is that you guys can do this, and that you are special. That you, whatever your story is, whatever your background is, the best thing that you can do for yourself in order to leverage your success is to just simply believe, is to really, like, when you get down, you say, wait a second, no, I'm going to do this. If you really start to get practical about it, what other opportunity do you have in your life where you've seen people increase their income? I think from 2014, this was after I'd already been in a year, to 2015, my income grew 180%. Like, what job do you have? And that was after, when we came from nothing in 2014, they didn't even calculate that. So, what other opportunity do you have that, where you can really, really see that? So, I really ask you to really map out with clarity, real clarity, like what your vision is for yourself, like what you really want, and just lay it out there. And then not only believe, you can't just sit back and go, I believe. You got to become partners with, with the power of God. You have to believe that you are partners, and then you have to take action. Take the action steps, even if it hurts, even if you're embarrassed. I tell people all the time that if, prospecting and talking to people is hard and embarrassing to them, that the best thing that they could do is actually look at it this way. When you first have a baby and you're first diapering them, the first couple times it's a little scary and it's really hard, but after a while you become an expert. Be willing to go out and be really clumsy with talking to people. Herb Cepeda, who is my upline, he's actually, I'm 3 levels down from him, but the 2 people in between me are there. So he's, really a huge mentor of mine. And he says, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. So just have the conversations. Make prospecting and talking to people your number one thing. I mean, it should be your number one thing to do, just to connect with people. Keep a list of people. Don't be afraid. I built this thing so clumsy. I have lists of the stupidest things I've done. I mean, really stupid things. I mean, we were talking about Isagenix all over the place on our pages. We were just blatantly saying things that were non-compliant. I mean, but you kind of, yes, but you kind of get, you don't want to stay clumsy. It's just like when a child's learning how to walk, eventually they learn to dance, right? You don't want to stay clumsy. You want to get better, and you want to have a little bit more finesse. We're all still works in progress. So a really important thing for me is for all of you to understand how crucial it is to build to executive and stay at executive and build as many first level consultants and above, hopefully executives, as you can. What the mistakes that we did in the beginning was that we had so many people enrolling that Carolyn and I were just like, okay, you take that one, you take that one. And some of them were really good friends, and we would put other people under somebody just so we could become, have another consultant to become executives. And what you may not be aware of is that when you do that, you're giving away, like, to make $100 for that consultant and then maybe hit the $1,000 mark, you may be losing literally millions in your career with Isagenix, because if you put a hot shot like underneath one of your best friends, and then your best friend as her personally enrolled, and your best friend really isn't that interested in the business, you're not getting 10%, because with our compensation plan, you get 10% when you're an executive of all of your first level personally enrolled every week. So I tell my people to build as many consultants, as many personally enrolled leaders as possible, so that there's more richness in the depth. So be very aware of how important that is. Huge other value of mine is to always make it more important that you're building a relationship with somebody than it is to get the sale. You want to be somebody who is genuine. You want to be someone that really honestly cares for people. It may take a year, 2 years for that person to even ask you about Isagenix. Obviously, follow up, bring up the conversation. I mean, it's almost always going to be natural for you to mention something about Isagenix. Somebody's going to mention that they're not feeling well. Just mention it, talk about it. But sometimes it just takes a long time. But make it more important. The other thing is, don't aspire. And first off, don't lose your identity. If you love to, be a Bible study teacher, if you love to, if you run a club in your area, or if you're the PTA mom or whatever, build there. Don't make your goal to lose that and become a famous network marketer. Your identity, aspire to build a network with people and passions that make you happy. When you build a network with other people who have the same passion with you, you have more credibility. And when you have more credibility in what your passion is, they see that they don't have to all of a sudden let go of their passion in order to become a network marketer. So you can be the person who's a PTA mom, but also a professional network marketer. You can be somebody who's an adoption advocate and be a network marketer. You can be a pastor and be a network marketer. You can be a doctor and be a network marketer. But I think what happens is that people believe that they have to be something that they're not. And the people in network marketing, I'm just going to be honest, weren't representing themselves in such a way that I wanted to be like them. I always felt like I was going to have to be like some really slick, like either businesswoman or, some guy who always knew what to say, how to manipulate the conversation for his sale. There's some way of doing the language, and I didn't want to be any part of that. And if you see my team, we're all just people having conversations with other people and being real. And that's how you want to be. You just want to be honest. You want to gain the credibility by really connecting genuinely with other people. And then use and learn technology. I mean, Facebook, I'm on Snapchat, and I swear I'm just having so much fun. It's been about a month, and I'm having so much fun with it that, it's, like I said, for me, letting go of that, of being on the big stages of the plaza and the Rainbow Room, I don't feel like my creativity has been squashed at all. I feel like Isagenix has opened up this whole new place of being able to be creative. So with technology, if you have something on your heart that you like to talk about, you don't have to go on Periscope and be talking just about how to recruit other people. You can be on Periscope and talk about how you love homeschooling and you have this new idea for teaching people about home, and then you build a network around that. I ran into a woman at this one conference, and she raised her hand. She says, I have this blog, and people really like it, but it's all about the fact that my husband died, and I think I need to leave that. I was like, well, do you want to? And she says, well, no, I've been told that I have to be more, into the business. And I said, well, if you have a network and your husband passed away and you're pouring your heart into this blog and you're connecting with other people, unless you feel like you want to leave that blog, don't leave the blog. Continue to write when you're starting to feel better. Who knows, she may be writing, people are going to be interested in her story. So use the technology to build a network. You build a network not by just trying to build a network with other network marketers. It's like singing it to the choir. Don't sing to the choir. Find your own audience and your own group to sing to so that they will appreciate it. It's that simple. Don't spend your time joining other groups with network marketers. Don't do that. If you're a mechanic, join a mechanics group. Literally just, really just go and do something very interesting. But so you use the new technology, love it, learn it if you can. And also respect the roots and the basic foundations of the industry. There's a lot to be said because you're going to learn your own style. You don't have to be, you want to learn the technology, but if you don't think that that's going to be your main way of building, that's fine. Respect the fact that face-to-face does work. Bringing people into your home does work. It may or may not be what you choose to do, but it does work. The third-party validation does work. You may want to do it on Facebook rather than the phone call. Who knows? So what we learned from people who have been in network marketing for years is valid information. The difference is the technology will speed things up in a major way. And the style that we're in today is more casual, especially with our industry, with our particular company. It's more casual, more relational. So from having an entertainment background, for example, typically I'm just meeting people dressed like I am, casual, but I also know the value of if I'm meeting with other let's say really conservative business people, I may dress up in a suit. I'm dressing the part. But in general, I don't have to, because I rarely meet people that are business people who expect me to wear a business suit. But if they did, and I knew that that's how they would I sort of present myself that way. So sort of appreciate that. You got to know what your demographic is. You may always be meeting with people like that. Some people, it's like their whole network really is comprised of people who would only want you to be dressed up super professionally. That's not my world. Mine's a little bit more casual. So know your audience, dress the part. The belief, like I said, is so crucial. Really, if you guys grasp and use the tools, it'll be huge for you. Do the work. Some people come into this business and they start and they're just sort of expecting their upline to like, why didn't you give me that link? I had to learn how not to be a librarian. I was getting people constantly, send me this link, send me this link. I was like, gosh, spending so much time. I've told them, go to Isagenix Business. There are people in my team that still don't know to go to Isagenix Business, spend all that time, 10 hours on there. I'm shocked at how many times I tell them to go to isagenixbusiness.com and go through the training. And they don't. Or isagenixhealth.net. If you can't find the answer, you can Google it. But do the work. Listen to the podcasts. There's podcasts on Isagenix podcasts. There's so many tools. This is such a well-trained, associate pool. I mean, we have so many options as associates to be able to go to events, which you can find at Isagenix events, connect with other people, and most importantly, don't give yourself excuses. Don't say, well, my upline's not here. I didn't have any. I went to 2-star executive before I even knew who Herb and Patty Cepeda were, and they were 3 levels up from me. You can build this thing on your own with just the tools that we have. So do we have any questions? I mean, I could continue to talk, but I'm happy to take some questions too.
Deanna, I know you've been so good at motivating your team and inspiring, the masses. What are maybe some tips that you could share on, you talk about the importance of personally enrolled and creating consultants,
yes.
Advancing your personally enrolled. So what are some things specifically that you've done to do that?
Well, I've had a challenge personally with the fact that I was always really great online, but literally even as I was getting very successful, but I wanted to become an expert, face to face. So what I tell people is to just challenge themselves, talk to people every single day, and connect with them, and believe that you're going to set up an account for them, and just continue to do it, and tell the people coming in, you have to talk about the business as well, even if it's just to introduce people, because oftentimes people say, well, I'm not really interested in the business. You're like, okay, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to walk through this with you. Take them on a back office tour, go through the associate checklist. I don't always do it, but I always have a conversation. And the newer people that you enroll, text them when there's a call, text them when there's a Zoom thing going on, check in on them when it's their first cleanse day. Do not isolate anybody. The worst thing, a sure way for you to not have great retention is to just, let somebody be isolated. I mean, check in with them, because the thing is, if they're not informed, they're going to think, like, if they, let's say, have a headache on the first day of cleanse day, and yet they're not drinking any water or taking the ISA snacks, that, oh my gosh, this is awful. Or maybe they don't know about a detox, or, there are certain things, preconceptions that people have that, you're there to answer. So I tell people, I say to them, look, I want to make sure that you understand that I am here to help you. I'm here to serve you. This is what I do. I always say, this is what I do when I enroll them. So please don't be shy. I'm going to be checking in with you. And so definitely stay in touch with them and tell them about the comp plan, about the advantages of having, one on either side to become a consultant. Tell them that like right away. I tell them that because, I have one associate that I enrolled like just a week and a half ago, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm using up like 200 BV, and she didn't even put her husband in yet, but she's putting him in now. I said, yeah. I said, why don't you do one order with your husband halfway in the month, and then you'll be at the beginning of the month, so they're having an order on the 1st and then another order on the 15th. And it just seems to work for them. So, but the other thing that we do is that we do work together as a team. So we have prospecting pages, which I know a lot of you guys do. And then we have these little threads where we say, okay, we've added so-and-so, make sure that you greet them. And so we're always talking to each other. But as my team grew, we had to we have a main page, and then we have all these separate pages for the different teams so that they can have smaller areas to really talk to each other with.
Yeah. Do you feel like talking on that a little bit, expanding on that? What do,
yeah.
At what point do they kind of create their communications pages, and what do you
Yeah, that's good. So when we first started, we didn't know, again, I didn't know any other network marketers, and I certainly didn't know anybody else in Isogenics. But I'm going to be honest, myself, Carolyn, and a couple of my other friends, we were really good with Facebook. We just knew how to get around. If we were raising all that money for adoption, we knew Facebook. So we intuitively, I put together a page which I called Adoptogenics Networking, and it was just myself, Carolyn, and then the woman who enrolled me, who's no longer there. So I put all three of us. I put her in the group. And in the beginning, we did not separate, we didn't say, okay, only talk about product, but don't talk about business. We were talking about product to almost everybody. That's how we kind of started things. But of course we talked about business, and we'd say things like, oh my gosh, I just got $150 on the same page that somebody would say, what's this replenish stuff? So it was all just organic. As things started to get really large, I started to advise people that if they even were like manager but had a handful of people, to definitely start a group, because it was getting so populated that even though that was the main group, they could then go to the side and sort of, chat with each other, and it just made the communication easier. I gave them the visual of it being like you're in a big house, right? So then the main living room and kitchen area is our Adoptogenics Networking group. And then the little different bedrooms on the side are all of the different smaller groups, and some of the smaller groups aren't so small anymore. Eventually then, because it was a closed group just for associates, we split it up into business, and then business coaching, and then Adoptogenics Networking, which now is also, by the way, a prospecting group. But we have some specific needs, because even though now it's not just people who have adopted or people in orphan care, it's everybody, but it's still a lot of people are still coming forward that are in that niche. And they they can ask questions like, okay, anybody here adopted from Belarus? At the same time, they'll say, okay, I just got my president's pack. What do I do? So for us, that's basically what we've done. Mm-hmm. It's really important to me also to mention this. In the beginning, the level and amount of social media wasn't as overwhelming. Right now, it's overwhelming. There is so much stuff that I advise people to really simplify things. I actually had to, I had to cut myself out of another group that had our group under it, because it was just too much. It was like everybody had a training, everybody had a call, everybody had, so we were getting away from the basics. Always remember the basics. If you simplify this, just talk to people and enroll them, and keep doing that. That's it. And then tell them that they should do the same. That's, introduce the products, have the people use the products, find out if they have other friends who want to use the products and introduce them to it, and then just keep doing that. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. We'll figure out where they're going in the meantime. But it gets really complicated when it's like, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And I had to just recently say, this is my workflow, which I'm a yellow, so I'm not that organized. But my priority in the day is to talk to people and work out and do some writing, and that's what I do. Hi, baby. Did he just say something? Yeah.
His towel fell, so I'm glad the camera was on. Little bare bum.
I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem.
It's pretty cute.
I've seen a few of those in my time.
That is such good stuff. I want you guys to ask some questions. I know there has to be a few questions out there. I can feel them.
Okay, wait. Robert somebody asked me a question about trying to keep all the consultants on the same level. What does that mean? I only said, okay. All right. So yes, there's left and right. We build left and right, but when you have a new associate, your choice is for you to personally enroll them on your left or your right. What some people do with their excitement to go to executive is they take their person that it's supposed to be their personally enrolled, and they'll say, Trisha, you're my good friend, and I want you to become a consultant, because when you can become a consultant, that means I'm going to become an executive. So you take my best friend and you'll enroll her and you'll become a consultant, which means I'll be an executive. And woo! So the problem with that is that if Trisha wasn't as awesome as she was and she falls off and you put your other friend under Trisha, when you become an executive, each of those people that you enroll, each of those consultants, each of those people with 2 or more people, in addition to all of the money, which is, by the way, like 7 different ways of making money, every week you get 10%, which means if Trisha was my consultant and she was cycling 50 times and Kathy was cycling 50 times and Eric was cycling 50 times, and so that's like 150 cycles in the week. I'm just and then that means the company is giving me an additional 15 cycles. Now I'm making an additional 700 something. But if I would have put my person under somebody else, I'm not getting the 10% off of that. I'm getting all of the points. I get all the points for my own cycles, but that extra 10%, that's why we highly encourage our people to go to executive, because when you go to executive, you get 10% matching on your consultants in addition to all of the cycles. You get in the executive pools, which is amazing. And it just goes on and on. There's all of the stuff that you don't think of when you're first building. So don't rush so hard. You've got like, okay, I can become a director on May 15th, which means I'll get, $750. Okay, so I've got this extra person, so let me put them under this other person, because then I'll get the $750, and then they'll call me Crystal Director, and I'll get the little crown for my enroller, and then they'll put me on Isogenics recognition. In the scheme of things, you're going to lose more money if you don't just keep enrolling the people that you meet, with the exception of if you meet somebody and then it's them and their husband, or if it's family members that are clearly need to be enrolled with each other. Got it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other part of that is you're creating that ghost consultant. So that inside person is kind of on their own. You've just kind of left in the Sahara Desert, right? Well,
yeah, depending on where you've put them. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps. So I'll have to tell you something. The one thing that I was surprised with, because I was never really great in math, was that the money math with this company I got like immediately. It was like I was a savant. But it came to the comp plan, I was like, what? So I really do get the comp plan. If you guys have any questions regarding the comp plan, it's like the best poker game in the universe. But it's real money.
I guess money is different, right?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm an artist. I don't get math, but I get the comp plan. Carolee, did you have a question, hun?
I think she actually answered it, but so when you were saying don't give up your interest, like let's say that you do have a different interest page or a blog, how do you get those people from that and kind of transition? Like, do you put them in the help page, or do you like friend them, or like on some sort of other, like what's usually your transition?
So what happened with us was that we had personal pages, and we were, talking about adoption 90%, or our families 90% of the time. So we were talking on our personal pages about whatever our passion was. And then like 10% of the time we'd say, oh my gosh, when I came back from Ukraine, I got really fat, and now I'm taking this amazing nutrition. I will never go without it. Now look at me. And then people go, oh, I need that because I just came back from China and I don't feel great. And then what we did at the time, and then this is before a lot of people had prospecting pages, we would then intuitively, again, we had no coaching, zero, nothing, except for that I listened to Isagenix podcast and I read about the comp plan. What we would do then when somebody would show interest, we'd go to what I called a 3-way Facebook message. So I would just go to a message on Messenger, and I would add my friend Carolyn, or I would add somebody else, and then we would verbally vomit in print at the time. We learned how to get better at it, but we go, oh, this is what happened, and blah, 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 blah. You want some? Actually, at first, we forgot to tell them how to get it. I remember in the beginning, they were like, all right, but how do I get it? Like, we didn't say, and by the way, we can set up a wholesale account for you. We totally forgot about that part. But so you are just, and then if you have a page, like a different interest page, you just go ahead and I live right near Disney now, right? So there's a lot of things that I'm doing for like fitness and the theme park and all that. And all we need to do is talk about food at Disney and that type of thing. But people then are going to form a relationship with me. They're going to want to go and look at my personal page and see what it is that I do. Or they'll ask a question that I'll want to send a message to. And then eventually these relationships form. And you don't have to hide it so much when you have a regular conversation, but don't come out guns a-blazing when it's not even relevant. But if you engage with anybody for 5 minutes, I promise you they will throw you what I call a watermelon, like, because I used to play softball. It's like they're throwing you something. It's like so easy to hit out of the park, because they're going to talk about their weight. They're going to talk about their kids. They're going to talk about not having enough money. They will talk about something if you have a conversation. If you talk to people, it's mind-boggling how sometimes it's inconvenient. I mean, seriously, there are times when I'm just like ready to go. I'm going on with my day, and they're like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't have any money. And I'm like, I needed to go to the store. Okay, I'm going to stop and start talking. I mean, it gets to the point where I'm like, okay. Seriously. So, I mean, just really plant into your passion, and it'll make you happier too, especially when you see other people that you love that are doing something that you love or share a passion. It'll make your team stronger, because you have history, or you'll have like another common interest and a stronger why.
Thank you. That totally helps. So I appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right. I think we have time for at least one more question.
I have a question. I've got one lady that refuses to set up a Facebook account, and I don't want her to be isolated, but looks like what is beginning to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm doing everything I can to reach out to her and go to her home, try to contact her as often as possible, but I still feel that coming on. And I don't want to lose her because she's doing well with the Isagenix, and it's just, what do I do? What can I do? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what to do.
I mean, I've run into some people like that too. So is she saying she doesn't want to go on Facebook just because she doesn't want everybody seeing her stuff?
No, because she thinks it's too invasive into her life.
So if she knows she could have a private page and just have an account just so she can watch the trainings and stuff, would she be okay with that?
Well, I've explained that to her, that we do this on our site, and it doesn't seem to faze her one bit.
Okay, so I don't have a lot of people like that, but I have had some people. You have to make a little note and put some things on the side. And if you're using, like, let's say My Isogenics, for example, has all of these drip emails, and you can start with those people creating a list and then just send them. Does she receive emails? She do emails?
Emails? No.
Yeah.
No, she's just, it's like she doesn't want to have anything to do with technology.
How does she
She
set up
has a cell phone.
How does she order things?
It's just on the auto ship, and she just, it's
the same thing all the time. She probably doesn't know there's anything other than like the shakes and the vitamins.
Exactly. And I try, and I go out of my way to, share that with her, that we have this other product.
Well, you're not doing anything wrong. I mean, you just do what you're doing, and then you pray for other people who are, obviously accommodate her to an extent without. It's very important too in this business to be able to help people, but not create a codependent relationship as well. You do whatever you can without it being expected. Like if she starts to really love this stuff, she needs to go on and change her auto ship. There have been some people who are really old that I would go out of my way for, because I know they want the vitamins. I have one woman, she sets up vitamins, sleep spray, and a canister of shakes, and she's so happy, so and I will call her whenever I can because she's adorable. But that's one person. And then what you do is you just continue to enroll other people who aren't like that, and you keep a note, and you continue to reach out to her every now and then and see. But it's going to be hard for her blatantly honest, for her to really find a lot of success if she's not even willing to look at, like at her back office.
Yeah.
Let's be real. If she's not going to go to her back office to even, she has to be able to change credit cards. She has to be able to know where to call. And that's not invasive. That's just, people, it's hard to even get a hotel. You can't, to even call for like a hotel. Everything's online. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I honestly, and I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I've started working through her husband, and slowly, because he's a little more open-minded, and I'm hoping that, with that encouragement, he will help her see the value.
That's true. And for example, a call like this tonight, if she had the link, she'd have to click on it, but she wouldn't have needed to have had a Facebook page. You could have emailed it to her, or texted it to her. Does she take a text? If she takes a text, she could, but she probably doesn't have an app on her phone. So I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just being patient. I'm just hanging in there. And like I said, I've started working through her husband, and just being prayerful and hoping that, she'll see the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Totally.
Okay. I didn't know if anyone had experienced anything like that, and if you could have, shared anything. Or
I'll tell you, we have one person who's an executive in our team, actually McLean, my friend McLean, who was using Facebook through her daughter in the beginning. But she was so determined to build a team, and she's built a really great team. And then eventually she got on Facebook. It's been a process, and I'm really excited because I think this week, I don't know if she did today or whatever, she finally posted her before and after picture. She's very successful, but she adamantly was like, I will not go on Facebook. I will not go on. And she kept sneaking in through her daughter. And she had all of these rules for us, like don't mention my name. It was hard, but she came around and she's killing it. So, you never know.
Yeah. And just hang in there, see what happens. I have to make the effort to go out of my way, and I don't have any problem with it, but it's just a little more effort with this particular woman that I have to make. And I love her to death, so I'm going to do it. But I was just hoping somebody had something to share that would help me
I think
in that.
the answer is probably her husband, or it might be a really good thing for you. Get her husband in and then get some of her, does she have any kids? I would definitely sign on some of her kids and then have them manage her account.
That's a good suggestion. I like that. Yeah. Thank you.
We have a team newsletters. I know Isogenics just really started the newsletter coming out through our emails is really great, and it has all the sites, all the links you can just click on. It's really clean and simple. And she has an email set up because she has an account. So you could actually send her those links through her phone. And like Deanna said, all she has to do is click on the link and it pops up.
Right.
Cell phone. So
okay. I just got so frustrated at one point that I guess I wasn't seeing clearly either. But I'm glad you mentioned that, Trisha. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Deanna, I took so many notes tonight. I say it every week, but tonight was so good. And I'm so grateful for what you shared tonight. It's just such good information, so simple, and I hope you guys really keyed in on that, on the simplicity of it and how anybody really can do this. And it's just a matter of talking to people, enrolling them, and teaching people how to do that. So thank you guys so much for being on the call tonight. I'm going to go ahead and let Deanna share some final words, but we appreciate you guys. We hope to see you next week. Next week is going to be amazing. All of these trainers that you've heard over the last few weeks, we're all going to get together next week and do questions and answers. So your assignment this week is to really think about your questions and come prepared because we want to answer those, all right? So the panel is going to be absolutely amazing next week. Just get prepared. Deanna, I'm going to need your help to rein them in. And,
Oh, yeah. You're going to need my help to rein them in?
Well, I learned a long time ago that you take the troublemaker and you put them in charge of discipline.
Okay. I'll do it. I can get them in line. I will.
I'm counting on you.
You know what? I'm going to vote for Jessica to be the one to rein all of us in.
It's going to be quite the chore.
She can do it. She seems like she's got a little bit more, red and blue, and I love her so much. I think but Angela, Corey, Carolyn, and myself. Yeah.
You see the problem. The struggle's real.
The struggle is real. It'll be fun though. I appreciate you guys letting me talk tonight. It was a lot of fun, and Trisha, honestly, you're just so awesome. I can't wait to see you soon.
I'm so excited. Excited. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the phone so you can say goodnight. I'm going to stop the recording here, but we love you guys, and let's spread it, guys. Let's keep it going.
Thank you. Great job tonight.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Bye.
Have a lovely night.
See you guys.
Bye.